The celestial horizon hummed with the usual cacophony of an interstellar research vessel, hydraulics hissing, computers chirping, and the perpetual drone of life support systems that never quite let anyone forget they were hurtling through the void. But in Medbay 3, Dr. Kira Chen had finally found silence. She'd been awake for 37 hours straight, stitching up crew members after the disastrous encounter with the Vraxian mining drones. Burns, lacerations, one particularly nasty case of spatial vertigo. She'd handled them all with the practiced efficiency of someone who'd spent many years in emergency medicine back on Earth. Now, collapsed on the recovery bed she'd meant to assign to someone else, Kira had finally surrendered to exhaustion. That's when Marcus Webb, the ship's xenobiologist, made his decision. The creature they'd rescued from the Vraxian Ataka juvenile from the forest world of Dendara 4 had imprinted on Kira the moment she'd extracted the shrapnel from its haunch. The Dendarans were massive, bear-like beings covered in thick amber fur, with intelligent golden eyes that seemed to understand far more than their pre-spaceflight civilization should allow. This one, barely 2 years old by their estimation, weighed in at a solid 400 pounds of muscle and loyalty. Marcus had named him Apollo, though Kira insisted on calling him the Cub despite his intimidating size. She needs rest, Marcus told Apollo. Kneeling beside the creature in the corridor outside Medbay 3, the Cub tilted his massive head, ears perking forward. Real rest. Understand, no one disturbs her. Apollo's response was to pad into the doorway, circle once, and flop down with his back against one side of the frame and his legs stretched across to the other. He filled the entire entrance, a living barrier of fur and determination. Marcus grinned. Perfect, good boy. Commander James Reynolds discovered the problem 15 minutes later when he tried to check on his chief medical officer. What the hell is this? He demanded, staring at the mountain of amber fur blocking his path. Apollo cracked open one eye, assessed the commander, and closed it again. His tail thumped once against the deck plating. A clear message, not moving. That's my medical officer in there, Reynolds said, his voice taking on the authoritative tone that made junior officers snap to attention. I need to verify her condition. The Cub yawned, revealing fangs the size of combat knives. Reynolds took a step forward. Apollo's eyes snapped open, both of them now, and a low rumble emanated from his chest, not quite a growl, but unmistakably a warning. The commander froze. He'd read the reports about Dendaran protective instincts. Their young were precious, their bonds fierce. But this wasn't Apollo protecting his own kind. This was a 400-pound alien defending a human woman who'd shown him kindness. Marcus, Reynolds bellowed down the corridor. The xenobiologist appeared from the lab, tablet in hand, looking entirely too pleased with himself. Yes, Commander. Call off your experiment. Apollo's not an experiment, sir. He's making an independent choice. He's blocking Medbay 3. Dr. Chen was adamant that she didn't want to be disturbed, Marcus said innocently. I believe Apollo is simply ensuring her wishes are respected. Reynolds pinched the bridge of his nose. She's been unconscious for 3 hours. I need to make sure she's actually resting and not, I don't know, in a coma. Her vitals are being monitored remotely, Marcus assured him, pulling up the data on his tablet. Heart rate steady, breathing normal, REM sleep patterns optimal. She's fine, Commander. She's just exhausted, and Apollo knows it. Over the next 6 hours, the Cub turned away the ship's second engineer who needed a prescription refill, Lieutenant Sarah Park who had a headache, and the quartermaster who insisted he was having a medical emergency that turned out to be indigestion. Each time, Apollo employed the same tactic: open eyes, assess threat level, deploy warning sounds if necessary, return to guarding. Word spread through the ship. The human medics, alien guardian, some crew members came just to see it, snapping photos of the massive creature sprawled across the doorway, utterly immovable in his dedication. Dr. X, the Centaurian navigator, found it particularly fascinating. Your species forms such unusual bonds, he observed, his crystalline exoskeleton refracting the corridor lights as he studied Apollo from a safe distance. The Dendaran has no biological imperative to protect her, no pack structure, no familial connection. And yet he does, Marcus finished. That's the thing about humans. Ixor, we have this weird habit of befriending just about anything that shows the slightest interest in not eating us. And apparently, it's contagious. When Kira finally woke, it was to the sound of gentle snoring and the feeling that something was ... off. She sat up slowly, her body protesting after hours in the same position, and noticed the unusual silence. No footsteps in the corridor, no medical alerts. no one bursting in with urgent requests. She padded to the doorway and stopped short. Apollo lay sprawled across the entrance, his massive frame completely blocking access. His head rested on his paws, eyes closed, the picture of contentment. Beyond him, she could see Marcus leaning against the opposite wall, tablet in hand. Marcus, what's going on? The xenobiologist looked up and smiled. You said you needed rest. Apollo took it seriously. How long has he been there? 6 hours, give or take. Turned away maybe a dozen people. Commander Reynolds tried to pull rank. Apollo was ... unimpressed. Kira stared at the cub, something warm and unexpected blooming in her chest. She'd spent her whole career taking care of others' patients, crew members, anyone who needed help. She couldn't remember the last time someone had tried to take care of her. She knelt beside Apollo, running her fingers through his thick fur. The cub stirred, golden eyes blinking open, and his tail began to thump enthusiastically against the deck. Thank you, she whispered. Apollo made a sound somewhere between a purr and a rumble, pressing his enormous head against her shoulder. You know, Marcus said, the rest of the crew thinks this is the most human thing they've ever seen. What do you mean? A doctor working herself to exhaustion to save everyone else, and an alien who learned compassion from watching her do it, deciding she deserved the same care. He grinned. Pretty sure we're setting an example for the whole galaxy here. Kira laughed, scratching behind Apollo's ears. The cub had meant to guard her rest, but somehow he'd done something more. He'd reminded her that even the caregivers needed care, that vulnerability wasn't weakness, that sometimes the bravest thing a person could do was accept help. Come on, big guy, she said softly. Let's get you some dinner. Apollo lumbered to his feet, stretching like a cat despite his massive frame, and followed her down the corridor. Behind them, Marcus chuckled. Humanity's greatest export, he thought, wasn't technology or weapons or even medicine. It was this, the ability to teach the universe that strength and gentleness could coexist, that loyalty transcended species, and that sometimes the fiercest guardian was the one who knew when fighting meant simply being present, one exhausted doctor, and one devoted alien at a time.